Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a little discussion video for you. Perhaps you could call this a bit of a rant. Perhaps you could call it, a frank discussion about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is cold steel knives. I have a few of them here represented. I don't know if this is all my cold steels, but definitely they're overrepresented in my collection. And it's absolutely fair to call me a bit of a cold steel fanboy. Okay, now. Having said that, there is one complaint that I see over and over again, and that I make over and over again when it comes to cold steel, and that is related to the pocket clip. Okay, so there are a couple things going on here that I want to talk about, really just two. Okay, but before I get to that, let's talk about the philosophical part of this a little bit. Okay, and that is to say that cold steel has a particular purpose in mind, and it's one that makes sense. Okay, I get what cold steel is trying to do with their clips. They want to make sure that when someone needs their knife, they've got it. Okay, they want to make sure that there's almost no chance that when you're walking through the bush, or riding your bike, or whatever activity you may be up to, that your knife is going to fall out of your pocket. Okay, and I absolutely appreciate that. I'm glad that they care about that. I'm glad that they're paying attention to it. However, they one well they do achieve very, very good retention in pocket. Sometimes getting the knife into the pocket is equally a problem. So we do need to talk about that, because they really can't justify their choice of how they do their clips by just saying, hey, we want to keep it tight so that it goes into pocket easy, because if that was their main point, they would make another change. Okay, there's another tweak that these could all benefit from. In addition to that, you can, and other companies do it all the time, make a knife that has really good pocket clip retention without making it so crazy impossible to get the knife in and out of your pocket that, heaven forbid you ever need it in an emergency situation, because you'd have to, say to the person that was, trapped in the car and couldn't get out, just hold on. I know the fire's coming to burn you up, but I can't get my knife out of my pocket. Okay. Or, or say to the person attacking you, look, just give me a second. I got to get my knife out. Okay. Because I've actually had that experience happen where, I go to get my knife, and depending on what I'm wearing that day, and depending on the particular situation I'm in, I actually cannot extract it from my pocket until I get two hands, one to kind of hold my pants in place, one to move the other thing out of the way, and then finally one to be able to pull on my pocket. Now I actually have a pocket here that's going to serve as an example, and I'm going to roll that in a second. But before I get to the pocket part of this, actually, let's I'll show you one thing, and then we'll carry on with this. But the main thing that I want to talk about, or the first thing that I want to talk about, is this right here. Okay, that's not so much over here where it's pinching your pant pocket. Okay, that's a different discussion. But right here, notice how this tips down ever so slightly. This one does it too. This one does it too. Even worse. This is the AD10. That was the Formax Scout. This one, Recon 1, does it as well. Not quite not quite as badly. This one is a little better. Okay, and because of the length of this clip, it's not quite as guilty of this, but it's still pretty bad. This one is especially bad. Look it's like right aimed downward. Okay, so the problem that this creates is, if you're going to put this in your pocket, now it's time to get the pants. So let's move the knives, and we'll get a pocket involved in this whole discussion. Pull this guy over here. There we go. So there's our pocket of testing. All right. And now you can watch. Now this one, see how the pocket just fits under there. By the way, This is not thick at all. And I purposely brought this thick pair of pants because I didn't want people to be able to watch this video and say, well, Kevin, you just went and found the thickest possible pair of pants that you could. So of course, all the knives have a hard time going into a pocket. This is just a thin pair of shorts. I don't even know what brand they are or where my wife got them, but she just came home from town with a pair of shorts one day and told me they were mine. But this, okay, so look, this is fairly thin, and this edge still wants to hit that fabric instead of slide in. If I want it to slide in, I've got to get my nail into there, I've got to lift up a little bit, and now it'll slide in. Boy, there we go. Now, wearing pants, it's a little easier to do this than when they're just sitting on the desk. So this is coming off as maybe a little worse than it actually is. Okay, but I didn't feel like filming my crotch for half an hour or whatever it was going to take me. So we're doing it this way. Again, you can see how it's bunching up. This needs to be higher. I need a little more room at the front of these clips. And yes, you can bend them. However, I've had problems with that too. And in fact, I've had a couple of people recently send me pictures where, let's see if this one can fit. It's a little bit bigger. It's still, so if I want to get this in, again, I've got to get my fingernail under there and I've got to do this kind of thing. And it's just difficult. So my question is, if your goal, now this one is actually really bad. It's one of the worst examples that ColdSteel has. And of course it's not going to catch now that I'm filming it. But again, if your primary goal here is to make sure that the knife goes in and out of pocket, then I guess that's not right. Well, that's not what I'm saying here. If your primary goal when you're designing your clips is to make sure that it doesn't fall out of the pocket, okay, making this space right here so small doesn't help you with that particular goal. Okay, so that's my first complaint about ColdSteel. And listen, guys, you see how many ColdSteels I've got here. I'm a huge ColdSteel fan, probably to an unhealthy degree. So I'm not for 1 second, saying ColdSteel's a bad company or anything like that. I'm just saying I wish they would tweak this so I could love it even more. Okay, so first of all, if the only change they made was just to allow me a little more room here, that would be all. I'd be happy. Okay, I can deal with the super, super tight clip, but if they're going to make that change, then let's make the other one as well. And I'm telling you guys, if I had a pair of 511s here, I dare say that there would be some of these knives that I would not be able to get to go into this pocket at all. Okay, so that's a bit of a problem as far as I'm concerned. Now we can talk about the other part of this discussion, which has been going on for a long, long time. By the way, I don't care about the texture. I know Nut and Fancy loves to, fill this up with, something and sand it off and whatever. Okay, I'm not interested in doing all that, but I would be interested in just a little less. And I mean, not a lot, but just a hair less retention there. And again, these are pretty thin pants, and I purposely brought these so you guys couldn't accuse me of being like unfair and bringing the thickest, fattest, most horrible pants I could find. But if you have like a pair of heavy denim jeans on, if you have a pair of, sometimes when I'm working, I wear like a pair of Carhartt overalls. It's a nightmare. It just is impossible to do. It's not impossible. Okay, that's hyperbole, but it's really, really difficult. And so people contact me about this, and I say, normally what I'll do is I'll take a pry tool, slide it under here, and just very gently pry up. You want to be gentle because guess what? I've had some of you send me videos and pictures and stuff where you actually broke the clip, which is kind of sad. But that can be anytime you go to modify something, there's a potential for breaking it. Some of these are worse than others. Okay, this one is especially bad. Let's take the two worst offenders here for a second. These two are especially bad because this one is bad because it has such high tension on this clip. This one is bad because it has such little space under that little hook there. And so, well, I'm a huge ColdSteel fan. I love what they do. It's so annoying that these knives that are really, really, truly fantastic knives, and they're some of my favorite knives on the market. And you know, the number of ColdSteels that I own is a testimony to that. I really, really enjoy ColdSteel knives. And again, I'm not calling for them to make them less textured. I don't think that makes sense because you need when I need the knife to grip my hand, I feel like that's more important than, tearing up my pockets. And really, if you carry a knife all the time, it doesn't matter if you never carry a ColdSteel, all knives will eventually wear out your pockets because it's hard metal versus cloth, okay? I think we all know what's going to happen in that situation. But a little bit easier at getting in and out of pockets would be great. Okay, so I wish that these hard use knives were a little bit easier to use when I needed them. That's the end of my rant. I know that I'm not the first one to say this. In fact, I know many of you watching have specifically mentioned me and asked me about this, and some of you it's even put off ColdSteel. And if that, the last thing I want to talk to is speak to the last thing I want to say about this is if this problem has actually put you off of ColdSteel knives, all I will say is there are some very easy solutions. If you feel the need, I don't, but if you feel the need, you can pop this clip off and just sand this area right under the clip a little bit. If you were going to do that, I would just give it a light sanding just to soften it up a bit rather than, fully remove the texturing the way that you see some guys do. All right, so you can definitely do that, and if you feel the need, you would. The other thing is you can often just take one of those small pry tools, slide it under here, and just gently pry on this, okay? Not, don't get overly aggressive here because there is a chance you'll break your clip. Be careful, go in stages, okay? It's kind of like setting lock bar tension. If you've ever set lock bar tension, you got to be very careful. You got to, make a minor adjustment. I usually measure with a caliper and see have I moved it at all. So make a minor adjustment, go back, put it together, see how it works, make another minor adjustment, go back, see how it works. It's worth it, okay? Because these are such great knives. In fact, these two knives, if I had to get rid of everything, these two knives I would be loath to part with, and I really feel like I could be satisfied having just these two as my EDC for the rest of my life. Wouldn't want to, but I could do it. Okay. So thanks a lot for watching. That's the end of my little my little rant here. I will put a link down to DLT Trading. I don't feel like I share them enough. DLT is a great company. I've always had good experiences with them. And if you're in Canada, I've ordered a number of things from DLT. It tends to cost a little more for shipping than some other places. I think I usually end up paying around $25 or so, but the shipping is always fast. It's always had no problems getting through, the whole border fiasco that's ongoing. So I'll put a link to DLT, and if you use that link, that'll help the channel as well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.